You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 235. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, author of How to Get On Podcasts, the podcast matchmaker, and CEO and founder of the MLG Collective. I'm excited to share my stories and life lessons with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac. As always, please remember to go leave a review for How to Get On Podcasts on Amazon. You do not need to purchase the book on Amazon to leave a 5-star review, and I greatly appreciate you. On to today's episode. This is a first. This one was recorded live in my home. I have yet to do that. And I had the pleasure of having Alyssa Jarrett come to town. She was in San Jose for a conference. So I asked her to stop by. And in true How to Get On podcast form, we had snacks and food, drinks, and then we had this amazing conversation getting to know each other. She came with gifts in her hands with an autographed copy of her book and all of the fun things that go along with it. So she was the perfect guest, whether it was a dinner party or a podcast interview. She showed up the right way. Alyssa is a romance author with her debut coming out called Apptually. It is based here in Silicon Valley, and it is book 1 of 4 in a series that she's written. She's also a tech marketer. So I love that we have these common themes of being from the Bay, and she's writing all about love stories that are fictional, and yet there's a little bit of truth to them. You'll find out when you give this one a listen. Hi, Alyssa.
Hi, Michelle. How's it going?
Oh, this is so fun. It's so good.
I know.
Alyssa's in my kitchen, y'all.
Yep.
We are doing a live podcast interview, and it's really the first, intentional live, because the original live was in a bookstore at a book signing, but this one, we've got one mic between the two of us, so it's going to be awkward, uncomfortable.
And exciting.
Yes.
Thrilling. Yes.
Can you introduce yourself to everyone, please?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Alyssa Jarrett. I am a romance author and a tech marketer. And this is an interesting conversation because I'm talking to you about my debut novel coming out very soon, May 21st.
I was just going to say May 21st. So I think by the time this airs, it will have just come out.
Perfect.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Happy belated pub day.
Thank you. It's been a long time coming. Yeah.
So how did you do this pivot of content marketing, tech world to romance novel?
Yeah, I've been writing for as long as I can remember. It's always been a big passion of mine. I started really investing my time and resources into the series that I'm working on now. It was a NaNoWriMo project in about 2014. And for anyone who's unfamiliar, NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month. It's a writing program that happens every November. And although I never actually won by writing 50,000 words, I never had that kind of stamina. It really kind of kicked off the journey for what is going to be this series that I'm working on right now. And then I was climbing the corporate ladder in tech on the marketing front for the last decade or so. About a couple of years ago, I was in a marketing leadership position and, was working very long hours, very burnt out. Obviously, coming out of the pandemic, it was just something I think everyone had a reset of, what am I doing with my life? What do I want to be doing in the future? And I really needed to make more time for my mental health and my creativity. So I, with the love and support of my husband and mental health professionals, I thought I'm just going to take a sabbatical. And I did that at the start of 2022. And that just sort of escalated into self-employment. I finished the series of rom-coms that I had been working on and moved into freelancing for marketing. And it's been a really great transition just to have a lot more freedom and flexibility to balance those parts of my life.
So you already have the rest of the books in the series done?
They're drafted. They're all at various
Holy cow,
stages
that's
of
huge.
editing. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Normally it's like, I've got a series coming out, but here's the first, but I haven't started on the second, or you've submitted your first.
Yeah. I had queried 3 of the 4 manuscripts actually. So in 2020, I think I and everyone else in the world decided I'm going to really hunker down and I'm going to finish this book.
Or start a podcast.
Or start a podcast, exactly. And so I hired an independent editor, Kristen Tate at the Blue Garret. Hi, if you're listening. I love you to bits. And so we've been working together on this series of rom-coms, and I was in the querying trenches, on the hunt for a literary agent, got a lot of really great feedback, and then ultimately decided that it was a better long-term fit for the series to independently publish. And so, one thing that's really great about romance is that the readers are, very accepting of all types of publication paths, and they're just voracious readers, right? They just want all the content all the time. And so with my marketing background, I felt pretty confident that this is something that not only did I have the financial means to do it, but I was also, I had the skill set to do it as well. So it's been a roller coaster ride, but I'm learning a ton, and it's really nice to be, in a place where I feel I can just soak up knowledge like a sponge and just be like a total novice again, and really like just learn everything there is to know about publishing.
And we haven't even talked about what the title of the book is.
Yes.
I love it.
That's true.
We haven't even thrown that out there.
Yes. Love Apptually, because I love me a good pun. Love Apptually is a Silicon Valley rom-com based on my experiences working in tech. And it's about a bit of a casually dressed tech founder and CEO, has got a bit of a hippie personality. And his company really needs him to step it up and really take his appearance to the next level. And so, company hires a celebrity stylist with not exactly his permission. And so he's getting a makeover whether he likes it or not.
I love it.
Yeah.
And we have so many of those casual CEO techie guys.
Yeah. I've worked with quite a few of them. So
I just saw Mark Zuckerberg. There was a photo, I forget which, it might have been like TMZ, where he's got a new look. He has, his curls are growing out, and he's wearing a chain.
Yep.
Because he's designing his own necklace line.
Well, it's so funny too, because and I talk about this in the book. Like, I always noticed working in tech, there was this double standard where, men could roll up in their, standard uniform. It was a t-shirt and jeans, or was cargo shorts and flip-flops. Or in some cases, I worked with people who were literally coming to work in their pajamas and slippers. But they were all men doing, having the leeway to do this. And so as a woman, I never felt like in a corporate setting, you could ever do anything right. I was either too casually dressed or too formally dressed. If I was wearing high heels, I was too dolled up. If I was wearing sandals, I had feedback that wasn't professional. I'm naturally curly haired and gray haired. And so I felt like I was constantly getting unsolicited feedback from men in my industry about how a woman was supposed to present. And I just never really ever saw that feedback, thrown back at them.
And yet they're in their pajamas.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't take their advice. I think I would have had HR kick me out because I would have told them where to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I know the people you're talking about because I roll up at school and I'm like, did you literally just get out of bed and bring your kid to school? Because it's obvious you did, and they're going to work like that too.
Yeah, and it's one thing to, be in the school drop-off or pickup line, but it's another thing to go to a venture capital meeting, an investor meeting, meeting executives at Fortune 500 companies that are, prospects or customers. And so I remember, I don't know if you remember, there was, I believe it was like the 2018 Global Citizens Festival, and there's a photo of Beyonce next to Ed Sheeran, and Beyonce is looking like the goddess she always Beyonce, is. Right. She's in a formal gown. She's looking stellar. And Ed Sheeran is in like a t-shirt and jeans. And I reference that in the book because at the time I saw it and I just thought it was just so disrespectful. And I love Ed Sheeran, don't get me wrong. Like, this is not about him as a person, but just the fact that you could have those two people side by side and like that was the level of expectation that they were to deliver on stage.
Yeah. And that it's okay. Like, this is his style, so that just makes it automatically okay.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter if it's black tie.
Yeah.
You're a t-shirt and jeans kind of guy, so...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was a great way for me to talk about, gender dynamics and power dynamics, but also having it being like a super fun, campy rom-com, like lots of hijinks ensue, lots of just things that sound too outrageous to believe, but based on things that actually happened in my life.
I love that because we were just having this conversation of what I'm working on. I'm like, yeah, all of this nutty stuff is real life, and it's just so far-fetched that it feels like it has to be fiction. So we're going to fictionalize it. Yeah. And so you shared with me that some of the people you've worked with have read it, and what's that feedback been like?
I mean, it is a little bit wild. I feel like I've had so much support from colleagues of mine. The dedication of my book is to the work friends who become real friends. And that's really the kicker for me. I mean, I have coworkers that have become, so close to me that they were invited to my wedding. We hang out all the time, right? Like they're an integral part of my life. And so it's nice to like go back and revisit those times, because regardless of the politics or the bureaucracy or the corporate, environment that you're in, like we're all real people having just like real struggles, and there's a lot of bonding that happens at these companies. So yeah, I think they're all very interested to see how, how the book is going to go. And, I just tell them, you're just going to have to read it to find out.
You have to see if you're in there.
Yeah.
I've had people ask me, oh, am I in your book? I'm like, well, it's about podcasts, so chances are maybe not. But the next one, you don't want to be in the book. If you can recognize yourself, that's probably not a good thing.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I've given some of my friends a heads up. They're a little bit more obvious, and so some of them, they're saying, "Hey, well, it's a little close to home. I'm not sure if I'm going to finish it, but I'm really happy for you."
Just buy the book at least, okay?
Yeah,
You don't have to finish it or read it. Just buy it. Okay?
Exactly.
And the next few, too.
Yeah. Just tell your friends.
How have you taken your marketing background and applied it to marketing the book?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the fundamental level, marketing principles are going to apply regardless of what product you're selling. So obviously I have a background selling like enterprise software, which isn't like sexy or even consumer facing, right? No one's going to drop hundreds of thousands of dollars on a book,
Yet.
Big 5 publishers hit me up. But I think just the all of the things that have to do with finding your audience, right? You're competing against not just, other books in your genre, but you're competing against the music they're listening to, the shows that they're watching, the chores they've got to do, the things on their to-do list, anything that's going to take their time and attention away from possibly enjoying your story. And so you have to give them a compelling reason to put down whatever they're putting, what they picked up and try something out that you've done. And so it's finding people who are going to really resonate with your work, and find a reason to say, yeah, you know what, this sounds like so compelling, I can't help but pick it up and try it out. And so I really focus a lot on building a community, being on social to drive conversations that I think are important, especially in the romance genre. What is it that we're talking about? What's trending and why, and how can we sort of, pick apart those dynamics? I love email marketing, and I love building a community there. I'm on Substack, and so get to have some more like long form conversations. I have a master's in journalism, very print focused. And so just long form storytelling has always appealed to me. And so anytime I can really dive deep into a topic and, share my potentially unpopular opinion about something, like I know that's going to get people interested. And even if we don't necessarily agree, you'll be intrigued to know perhaps maybe something that might be related to my book or, related to the genre. And, it sparks conversation.
So let's go back to the journalism and go rewind.
Yeah.
How did journalism come about? And you did some PR, right? As well.
Yeah. Well, as part of my marketing, gigs, I've always had some sort of element of comms related to it. So I graduated college. I had a undergrad degree in English Lit, and then at that time, the 28 crash had happened. And I thought maybe I should stick it out and get another degree while this economy recovers. But then I majored in journalism, an already dying industry. But I really enjoyed it because it was a way for me to understand mass communication theory and understand, how audiences are built. We studied a lot of, earlier social media, and that. When I started entering the workforce, I started to realize that a lot of journalists were making the pivot into marketing and PR. There's just not as many opportunities in news and media, certainly not ones that were well paying. And so I've always wanted to live in the Bay Area, but I also wanted to pay rent and eat at the same time. And I was always fascinated by tech. I had those rose-colored glasses on in the early days. I just thought this is where smart people are. This is where important people are doing important things. And
let's laugh at that too.
Yeah. I mean, to some extent, I understand that that's not necessarily the case, but I was always fascinated by the industry. So I moved up here, started working in tech, taking on a lot of the responsibilities of product marketing and content marketing. And eventually sort of built out this like function of what I'd call like content, creative, and communications. So managing the writers, the designers, and, essentially like the publicists, whether they're at the agencies or they're in-house. How can we build great content, make it look great, and then also get it out into the world and get eyeballs on it?
And isn't that funny? It takes all three of those things, and yet a lot of people forget one of those components or two of those components and just focus on one.
Yeah, and it does translate to books because, we think about the things that you really want to invest in, right? Number one, a great editor. So that's the content. Like you have to write a good book. Mm-hmm. Like that's ultimately, when you're publishing, it's no longer about the art, it is about the business, and you have to deliver a product that is worth people paying for it. So investing in an editor is crucial. The second is your cover, right? You can't have a cover that looks shoddy. So investing in great creative is important. And I'm fortunate enough that my brother is a professional brand designer.
Oh, I love your cover. I love the Golden Gate Bridge. We got married in San Francisco, so seeing the bridge, I was like, oh, I'm going to love this book.
Yeah, it was great to work with him on it. We've always been kind of a tag team, so it was really great to collaborate with him. And then the comms part, is really about the marketing strategy, right? How are you going to build out that audience? How are you going to find your readers? Because and a lot of people are afraid of critical feedback, but that's all part of the process of finding your target reader, and it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea.
Right.
But you won't know that until you start getting it out into the world and seeing how it lands with folks, and then what are some of those, similarities between those audiences that liked it and then maybe didn't. And then now all of a sudden you can segment a very large swath of the population into, okay, these are going to be the diehard fans that are going to want to read everything that I write. Or at least that's the hope, right?
Yeah. I love that you said you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I saw a meme today that Rosie Lee, the author, shared, and it said, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and you don't see tea apologizing for not being coffee. So
yes. And as someone who loves tea and is not a fan of coffee, like that definitely speaks to me.
I loved it. I'm like, oh, I got to use this. I got to share it somewhere. So
yeah.
Shout out to you, Rosie Lee, because I know she listens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, you know, and a lot of people talk about being mood readers. And so even the person that you might be your target reader may not be your target reader right this second. Right? Maybe they're burnt out on rom-coms and they need to, you know, read something more serious or vice versa. And so to me, it's like, how can we get marketing? This is a massive cliche, but the right message to the right person at the right time.
Right.
You know, and you're not going to be able to do that unless you spend just as much time thinking about market research and marketing and advertising as you do writing the book. Fortunately, I think that's one of my strengths. I know that there's a type of writer that would love to be a hermit in a cave and only write and magically be discovered and make $1 billion, right?
We all would. Let's be honest.
We all would. But like you know, for better or worse, I also appreciate pounding the pavement and, you know, earning the audience. And I think a lot of people maybe don't recognize that is something that needs to be earned.
It's true. I love that. And I'm thinking of all the benefits of self-publishing since I've done the traditional route. And like, you know how many books you've sold. You will always know how many books you've sold. I have no idea. So
the data, we have more visibility for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also a very different ecosystem too. So my book is exclusive. The ebook is exclusive to Amazon as part of the Kindle Unlimited program. And the business model is different. So people pay a monthly subscription, and authors receive royalties based on the pages read rather than the units sold.
Oh.
And so
you have to finish it. Forget what I said. I said earlier, buy it, but don't finish. You have to finish it if you get it on Kindle.
And I haven't seen it on the back end, but from what I understand, you know, you won't necessarily know whether one person read 15 pages or 15 people read one page. But you will be able to sort of glean, you know, how well is this book being received. And, you know, I feel like as much as I love traditional publishing and all of the things that a publisher can deliver in terms of distribution and reach, there is something to be said about just the granular data that a lot of indie authors have been able to get. And so I think hybrid is usually what I propose is like the future of publishing. I think there are going to be projects that are meant to be trad, especially if you're in genres like children's books, or, you know, certain things that rely on schools and libraries, young adult, for example. And then there's going to be, you know, a lot of projects that are meant to be indie published, and a lot of spicy romance in particular starts off in Kindle Unlimited and then perhaps goes viral. And then that's when the agents and the editors come running, right? Because you've created a marketable product and it's there in black and white that it's selling very, very well. And I've seen that happen time and time and again.
I wonder if I'd have a problem with that if I was querying so many agents and was like getting all the rejections and then go do it yourself so it goes viral, and then everybody comes back going, oh, we actually do want you. We're just kidding. Thanks for making it go viral. Now we'll help you out.
I mean, there can be a little bit of side eye with that. I do try to remind myself that, you know, the agents are getting thousands of queries a month. I mean, they are in a deluge of emails. And so it's very hard to stand out in that kind of demand. And frankly, the supply and demand issue is very much real. There are not enough publishers and there are not enough publishing professionals to serve all of the people in the world that want to write a book.
Right.
And so, okay, what can we do to make sure that we're representing ourselves not just as an artist, but as a business? And so, you know, unfortunately, capitalism is going to capitalism. And if you don't have a business in the mindset, you're going to get really frustrated really quickly and feel like you're smacking your head against a wall for fun. And it's going to drive you nuts. But I just think of it as, if I were to partner with a literary agent one day, it'll be because I respect them as a business partner, not necessarily as the gatekeeper that's going to grant me the external validation that I was looking for. Now that I'm going indie, I don't necessarily need to rely on that. And now I can treat anyone in publishing as like a peer. We're in this together. And that's been the greatest part about the journey.
I love that. You sound so mature as you say all of this. And I don't mean like old mature, like you get this.
There's been a lot of therapy.
I love therapy.
Yeah.
I love it.
Had to include my therapist in my acknowledgments.
Me too.
So, shout out Daisy. We couldn't do this without you.
I love that.
Yeah.
You're after my own heart.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about publishing that the most highly anxious, and I say this with love, sometimes neurotic people are attracted to these fields because it is some of the most brutal rejection that you're going to experience. But if you're, it never ends too. It's like you'll get rejected from agents, from editors. But even as indie, you'll get rejected by readers. I got my first 1-star review a week after offering advanced reader copies. And so we ripped that Band-Aid off, and I have a lot of love and gratitude for that reader because, hey, you can't win them all, right? And, they say authors shouldn't be reading their reviews, and I'm certainly not going to insert myself into reader spaces. But, I like to quote Lord of the Rings, but today is not that day. Today is not that day where I can completely remove myself as a debut author. This is all very new to me. And honestly, I'm just morbidly curious about any kind of feedback, positive or negative.
Well, I'm always curious. Why do you feel the need to leave a 1-star? Why leave one at all? Why, if you didn't like it that badly, then why waste more of your time by leaving a bad review?
Well, I understand, with ARCs, it's that exchange of, hey, we're asking for your honest feedback, and I get it. And if anything, it makes that, the rest of the reviews feel more credible because nothing says bought and paid for like a perfect score. So, I feel like those 1 stars are exactly what I need to make the 4 and 5 stars, that much sweeter.
See, you are mature. Look at you. When does the next book come out?
Well, we don't have an official release date. I'm hoping for sometime in the fall.
So you're going to do them quick.
I mean, it's not necessarily what we'd call rapid release. I couldn't do things at that clip. There are authors in the romance space who can pump out a book, every month or so. I don't have that kind of stamina.
I don't have that kind of time.
I
wish. If that was all I did, that would be awesome. But here you are in my kitchen.
Yeah.
You've seen me do homework.
Yep.
You're going to see the door project for the teacher appreciation. There is no time to do one rom-com a month. I wish.
Yeah, no. But with the 4-book series, I think probably every 6 months for the next couple of years will give me enough time to, craft the next series and see, how that's going to shape up. But yeah, I'm excited. It's, it's all interconnected standalones in the same universe. So it's a series, but you don't necessarily need to read all of them in order because it follows a different couple's love story. But you get to see the cameos from characters in each book.
I love it. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Where can everyone find you? Where can they follow you? And where can they get Love Apptually? If you get on Kindle Unlimited, you have to read the whole book.
Yeah, so I'm AlyssaJarrett.com is my website. You can also find me AlyssaJarrett.substack.com if you'd like to sign up for my newsletter. I have a lot of hot takes about the romance genre and just publishing in general. And we have talked, a lot about books that I'm loving and shows that I'm watching and all my recommendations. And then on social, I'm at author Alyssa Jarrett. I'm on Instagram, Threads, and very lightly TikTok.
Thank you so much. This was a
Thank
blast.
you. I'm really glad I was able to join. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much to Alyssa for coming to my home and doing this little experiment with me, having my daughter recording us the entire time in the kitchen. It was an absolute blast. And best of all, I feel like I made a new friend with Alyssa. I am so excited to share her book with all of you and to see how she does this journey of publishing her romance series and bringing some of Silicon Valley to all of you. It is so much fun to share with all of you parts of the Bay Area and to be able to connect with other authors that are literally here in my backyard. So a big thank you to Alyssa for coming over, and a thank you to all of you. I hope that this inspires you to take some of the tidbits that are going on in your life and to write about them, because it makes life more fun and you get to share the secrets, but just call it fiction.